Alright, how's everybody doing? So we made it through a few more days. I'll just go over some more of the zaniness as I see it, but I'm going to touch base on a couple of things. All the stuff that I show is stuff that's in the headlines, right? I just don't give you my opinion with nothing to back it up. And for the longest time, I've been saying who this character's playing. Okay, I mean they'll tell us a story. So there's Miss Maisie laying there. It was raining all day today, so we're indoors. Okay, so here recently we had the Charles Kirk thing. That's where it was held. State Farm. What is a farm? You grow things at a farm, right? We had an eclipse that day too, right? And going all the way back to some of the other eclipses, I think the last one they were, shooting rockets towards it, right? And I said that kind of came out of Stargate, the movie. You blow up the portal. People say the sun's a portal. So that one was actually over Antarctica. And I've been saying for a long time that the actual Ark, Noah's Ark, is a UFO and it's sitting down there in Antarctica. But, it is what it is. So that's what this is right here. If you look at all the goings on that went on inside that room that day for the 4 or 5 hours that thing went on, and they even showed scenes similar to this at the end where the whole outside there wasn't a soul to be seen, nobody walking the streets, no vendors, nothing, and then people just came pouring out of it when it was over with. And there was a whole bunch of other crazy stuff that went on in there. It is what it is. So in the timeline, we've got the arrival of them, right? The Garden of Eden, go out into the world. I think someone even made a mention of, make millions of babies, right? So there's that. There's, right here, this is the timeline for Sodom and Gomorrah, just the way I see it. We're also in the timeline which ended all things, right? Which they say was our civil war. They keep talking about that. A civil war is coming. Where's she at? She's over there, yeah, just chilling. So this is kind of crazy. Somebody brought this up. I mentioned the Illuminati cards a while back. And this one even says enough is enough, which Trump has said that. You can go back through his file. He said that. And there's also a thing down here in the fine print about, we have snipers everywhere, we can get you. And what's really funny is my buddy Maverick over there does a lot of those overlays. And this, this whole thing right here, okay, he overlaid over the region around Utah, and everything lines up perfectly. And where the eye is where the location was where he got shot. Not Utah, I'm sorry, Arizona. But it's just crazy stuff. Um, you know, One of the other things that I've mentioned in the past is, when you go outside and you look up at the stars, you're seeing a heads up display, right? Okay, and so that's nothing more than like a force field, maybe. I'm not real sure. But there's lots of headlines. You can Google this. There's a wall of fire right outside our solar system. So if the solar system is contained within that screen, that wall of fire that you see there, and this is still in the news, is that so when they show you images of the sun, the lake of fire, they're showing you one of the layers of where we live. Okay, that's why there's a wall of fire right outside our solar system. It's the corona. It just is what it is. And so, and I had this little picture here. Trump's always talking about central casting, and that's because we're watching a play. And what's really funny is now there are even ads where you can take a picture out of your family album and run it through some AI generation thing, and it'll make like a 30-second short, right? And if you've ever listened to any of the podcasts that Raven and I did together, on one of them I know we talked about this whole hologram, this whole reality is being done from photographs and memories. They're just photographs that have been turned into, like the Rush album says, moving pictures. Um, it is what it is. So, back to the Charlie Kirk thing. So, the word Kirk means church, so potentially we just saw the death of the church. I still haven't figured out the significance. One of the things that I've been having to kick around is the fact that, if I stage, a little sit-in at a college, and, that's how I make my living, so to speak, and somebody shoots me and kills me, that's just a plain old murder. Okay, but we're actually labeling this guy as having been assassinated. Yeah, if you go vote, you're associated with politics. Everybody keeps telling me, yeah, well, he was a supporter of Trump. How many people voted for Trump? Those are all supporters. You know, but what's really crazy here, have any of you seen the movie 12 Monkeys? I know that was a big movie. It's been brought up in there. There's even a virus, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a long time. Bruce Willis, one of the main characters, actually catches a virus and is going to die, something like that, I think. But he actually sees a younger version of himself walking on the other side of the street, right? And the funny thing about time machines and doing away with, Charles, was celebrated, his death, celebrated, honored, whatever you want to call it, all over the world, like he was some kind of dignitary. And he was just a guy, okay? I'm just telling you. And, it could also be that King Charles, the guy who Trump was just visiting, somebody could have went back in time and killed him before he became what he did. I don't know. I still don't have all that. And all this is just, to me, it's all batshit crazy, and you can't prove half of it. But it is what it is. It comes right out of the headlines. Except for the part about the younger Charles being assassinated. And that's why, right? Assassinated. Now that would make sense, though. And I don't know. Especially the places that he was celebrated, because, that's part of either the current or the old British Empire. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So some of the other things people are watching is, okay, so like right now we have Storm Gabrielle. This is a list of all the hurricanes for this year. So we're to Gabrielle right now. And the next run right here is this Humberto. Some people have run these names through the Strong's Accordance. Gabrielle is the messenger, God's messenger. And Humberto, run through Strong's Accordance, means the destroyer. So, peace and safety, then comes sudden destruction. Humberto is one of the signaling signs of that destruction, so to speak. And nothing's going to get destroyed. It's just a simple case of, we go... Okay, does anybody remember seeing a show called Quantum Leap? I think that was maybe in the 80s, right? And he just bounced from one person to the next in different scenarios. That's all these catastrophic events that have taken place in the past. Where did the dinosaurs go? I hate to tell you, but the dinosaurs are still with us here today. Just like we have gotten smaller through each loop, so to speak, we've gotten smaller. That's why there's giant skeletons of humans, because we used to be bigger. The dinosaurs used to be bigger. Today we call them lizards. Just like people swear there's a megalodon shark that used to swim the waters just like a great white, only bigger. Well, guess what? Megalodon is the great white. He just got smaller. Okay? And that's in the movies too. Night at the Museum, there's a bunch of little people in a box, of all things. I have this here because, whether this happened or not, but this has been in the headlines, it turned green. And I've said for a while, the Emerald Tablets, the Emerald Coast, there's a reason these things are labeled the names that they're labeled. I don't make the story up. I just don't promote the googly goog like everybody else done. Now this is actually a screenshot. Somebody took a meteor, and I think they put it like in like a petri dish, a big petri dish, just a chunk of meteor, and it actually started growing this black thing out of it. So that's also in the movies. I don't remember what they call it in the movies. I wasn't really prepared for this part of it. I just seen I had the picture there. It's the black goo. It is what it is. And that gets back to, them putting stuff in the water and in the air, and, it just is what it is. So, that's all the zaniness I have for today. So, tick, tick, tick. It's still getting shorter. There's been a lot of hubbub, like I said, about this September, and especially this Feast of Trumpets and blah, blah, blah. Again, this isn't the first time we have experienced a rapture, so to speak, or a shift. I mean, every time we go from one world to another, we go through, and they're in the Bible too. That's why people are tracking these things through the script, saying, oh, this is a good time for it to happen. This is all rapture talk right here. Well, it is, because this isn't our first trip through here. In fact, right here, this showed up. Are there multiple raptures? And everybody's thinking there's going to be multiple rounds because of how it's written in the script. But no, it's just the script contains those other raptures in it. So, we still got to get through the 24th, so we'll see how that goes for the whole Rosh Hashanah thing, and we could be out of here then, but, Humberto hasn't formed yet. Okay, so just like this is Noah's Ark, the story's about Noah's Ark, we're in the Ark. It is what it is. We're also in an asteroid that's, in the Star Trek. They actually have an episode called The World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. Okay, so it's all out there. Like I said, I didn't make this stuff up. I just see it differently than everybody else does. So, let's see, multiple raptures, multiple timelines, Sodom and Gomorrah, the Civil War, World War II, because that's another time jump that we made. I did a video on that one. And that one was like a merger, I think. It wasn't an actual time hop. It's just timelines blended. So we're back to the garden even in one timeline. Multiple timelines we're walking right now. It's really, really crazy. They're all collapsing fast. Is what it is. So everybody hold on, enjoy the ride. and I'll just try to show you more of my zany stuff as I see it happen. All right, I love you all. Bye-bye.